Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to take a second to talk to a specific group of people. This is for all of those who come from families that are divorced or separated. And I don't know, I just had you guys on my heart today. And yeah, I guess you could say I'm not really a romantic person, but yeah, Valentine's Day for me hasn't, yeah, it's just not my thing. But so my parents got divorced when I was 17, and around that age you're kind of still figuring yourself out. You're trying to figure out what you think you might see or want in a future, I don't want to say spouse because kind of young at that point, but you're trying to figure things out. And when you add a divorce to that stage of life, it really shakes you. And I think that could go for any age. But basically my heart was frozen for a long time. That's really the best way that I can describe it. I loved people. I love people. If you know me, I love people. But for a long time, my heart was just, it was frozen. It was in a cage. It was just walls everywhere. And I had a hard time loving myself. I had a hard time understanding why anyone would want to love me, especially considering my family, or considering the fact that I didn't come from a complete household or a typical household. And it became something that I was very self-conscious about. And yeah, but I won't go into too much detail about that. I just want to let you know that there's hope. And I'll never forget, I was playing keys at a women's conference, and throughout the whole conference they were talking about these types of topics, and I'm not gonna lie, it was hitting me. And at one point I just broke down, and later on that day someone called me over and asked to pray for me, and they said, "What do you want from God?" And I just thought about it for a while, and the only thing that could come to my mind was the fact that I wanted a new heart. I didn't even want my heart to be healed. I was like, "Lord, give me a new one." And that was when, for me, freedom began. And it wasn't this instantaneous healing. It wasn't like magic where all of a sudden, poof, everything was gone and my situation was better. It really wasn't that. It was just in that moment I began to experience the love of God for myself. It wasn't just something that I would sing about or read about. It became real. And it was a process. It was a really long process, but slowly I was able to just allow myself to be caught up in his love, allow myself to be immersed in his love, covered, and it covered my shame, it covered my feelings of insecurity, of not being enough, of not feeling pretty enough, or whatever the case may be. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I just want to say, if you think that you need a guy or a girl to fully heal or to fully cover that feeling of not being enough, it's not going to work. I promise it's not going to work until you allow the love of God to completely make its home in your heart. Adding another person to the mix isn't going to change anything. And you don't need to feel ashamed of your family. You don't need to feel ashamed of the home that you come from, of your parents. You are not a replica of your parents. You are not a clone of your parents. You will not end up like your parents. If you put God first, you will not end up like your parents. I promise you. God has something so much better for you. He has a plan and a purpose for you. And whoever you're meant to be with, they will come along in the right time. They will become a part of your life in the right time. If you seek Him first, everything else will be added on. And for me, Psalms 139 really, really helped me. And there were times where I would just read it over myself, even if I didn't believe it, or even if I didn't feel like it was doing anything, I would just read it. And it talks about how He knew us before we were even a thought in our parents' minds. He knew us before we were even created in the wombs of our mothers. And there is nothing too big for God. Your pain, your hurt, your anger, your resentment, it's not too big, it's not too much for God, and it's not too much for the person that God has for you. I know sometimes we don't want to be a burden on other people, and we think, oh, well, who's going to deal with me, or who's going to deal with my baggage? If you start letting God do the work, if you start letting Him do that renovation in your heart, whatever is left over, whatever damage is left over, the person that you're meant to be with, they will be able to handle it. I promise you. And I know it sounds crazy, but that's the way that God works. And no, I just want to speak life over you today, and don't get caught up in this holiday. It's just a day on the calendar, honestly. And find someone that you care about. Express to them how you feel about them. Your friends, your family, your loved ones, your coworkers, whatever the case may be. But don't get caught up in this. And whatever season you're in right now, it's temporary. There's a time for everything. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. There's a time for everything. Everything, everything. Don't rush. Don't make yourself ready. Just because people your age are in relationships or, like dating, whatever the case may be, if you feel like you're not ready, you don't have to do that. Allow yourself to heal. Grow a relationship with God. I promise you that's going to get you through everything. And above all else, pray. Pray, pray, pray. If you're interested in somebody, pray. Pray, pray, pray. If they're not meant for you, God will remove them. And if they are meant for you, He'll see you through it. And you're not a mistake. You're not an accident. And you will not end up like your parents. Okay. Well, happy Shhmalentine's Day. Alright, bye guys.